Malaysian 370, contact Ho Chi Minh 120.9. Good night.
Good night, Malaysian 370.
Breaking news tonight, a Malaysia Airlines flight with 239 people on board, including 4 Americans, has gone missing.
From the Hindu scripture, the Bhagavad Gita, Vishnu is trying to persuade the prince that he should do his duty, and to impress him takes on his multi-armed form and says, "Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds."
Hello, everybody. Sorry, I just realized I didn't have my my microphone ready to go. Hey, everybody. Happy Monday evening to everyone out there. This is Malaysian Airlines Monday. I hope you guys are excited. I'm your host, Ashton Forbes. And what do we have? Our light is working again. Oh, Forbes is back at 100%. Oh, awesome, man. Awesome. Okay, so first thing is I am pulling out all the stops, honestly. Thank you. I appreciate the kind words. As you guys, if you guys have been following social media, you've seen that I have stepped it up. I have been posting the videos that I got produced on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. I also made my first self-made TikTok video today about free energy, pushing that out there as well. So I want to thank you guys, because the only way I was able to afford getting those video clips made was from all the engagement from social media or what have you. And I don't do subscriptions or like memberships or anything like that. It's just from you guys watching the YouTube channels, the live streams, and from the from Twitter. So I hope you guys enjoyed the clips. I've got like 30 more actually, and I actually told them to stop because I have too many clips at this point to post. And so those can be, and we can reuse those, repost those, whatever, you know, like they can be reused multiple times over. But as you all saw, like I've been on a free energy kick. So I know today is Malaysian Airlines Monday, but I want to talk a little bit about free energy in terms of like some of the updates, because I've been on the free energy kick. Like I now have such a good idea of how the electrical engineering and the physics works that when I see a device that I think is legit, like I'm on it and I'm going to be spamming it, showing videos of it. So first of all, disclaimer, guys, I am not paid to endorse any products that are out there. I'm not endorsed by anything for any reason, and certainly not for any free energy devices that are out there. So if you see me post something, it's not because they're paying me to do it. It's just because I am an advocate for over unity, free energy in general. Also, another disclaimer, I do not encourage people to do their own recreations, and this is why. It's not that I am like afraid that people aren't going to be able to do it. It's that science is a process, and it's an arduous process, and it can be an expensive process. This is why people get grants to do various scientific experiments that are out there. So if you think you're just going to, on the first try, recreate a device that you just saw in a video or whatever, that is a lofty goal, and probably you're going to get let down. That's the truth of it. Reproduction on the first try is like a needle in a haystack, to be perfectly honest with you. And I don't want anybody to waste their time or to get upset or frustrated. So that's the only reason why I don't officially advocate for you trying to do your own thing. Now, of course, if you are an enthusiast or whatever, you know, and you've only got time and money, maybe you're retired, whatever, go for it, honestly. Now, the other reason is that when we talk about free energy, it's really important to understand that we are not talking about, I'm going to make something that costs zero and I'm going to get infinite energy out of it. It's really not how it works. When you really get down to business and commercialization, you have a cost associated with building your device, which also includes labor. And labor, especially highly skilled labor, going rate in the United States is probably $200 an hour for highly skilled labor. If you go to your mechanic, that's probably what they're going to charge you anywhere else. So if you really do the math on what it's economically costing you to make a device, these things are easily running into the tens of thousands of dollars, easily. From materials to the labor cost, etc., very expensive. So now you're looking at things that are the prices of a car. That's going to depreciate over time. So if you can get 5 years out of it, 10 years out of it, whatever, that's great. But you're not going to see that return right away, right? So this is the real situation with free energy. When we're talking about free energy, we're not talking, hey, I just made a device for $0 and now I'm getting infinite energy out of it. It also only produces a certain rate of energy, which, if you're in a house or an apartment or whatever, I'm sure it's probably enough, to run a few devices, right? As we saw with the Liberty engine, they had a bunch of stuff running off of it, but you're not producing enough energy to power the whole block. And on top of that, who are you selling it back to? Who are you selling it to? Are you selling it to the power company? What's the power company going to do when they see you're selling a bunch of energy back to them? So you have to realize there's a lot more going on with this that makes it not as straightforward as, hey, I'm just going to build this device for zero and produce infinite energy off of it. I'm just going to hook it up to the grid and just start making a ton of money, right? Like, you're going to get a knock on the door right away, even if you do that. So this is the thing where you have to really look at it from the realistic perspective. You realize there's all these barriers to it. And this is part of the reason why, even though EtherTech is still going on, and if you are really, really, really interested, you can privately get in touch with me and we can talk about it. But this is the reason why I'm not pushing it as hard as I was before with all the announcements and all of that. Truthfully, between you guys, we did do a pretty decent number of interviews with people and talk through the challenges and stuff with people. And the more and more I heard it, I went, man, I'm a little bit worried about this. Not because it doesn't work, but because, what if the wrong person gets it? And then like you see with the Holcomb generator, now you're being sued by people and they're claiming your thing doesn't work, but it does. And now you have to deal with all these legal battles associated with that. What if it breaks down because it's got moving parts? How are you going to deal with that? How do you deal with a situation where somebody hooks this thing up and now the power company's knocking on their door? And then they go, hey, you said this was going to be legit, but now I've got the power company knocking on my door, right? So we're in a situation with free energy and magnetic motors and free energy devices in general where, liability is a B, guys. Liability can be a B. And it's even if your thing works and they sue you, you're going to get discredited. That's what people are saying about Holcomb generator. Oh, well, people sued them. Well, did any of the lawsuits work out? Doesn't matter, right? So we're in a situation where free energy devices are potentially, what I would call them, not quite street legal at the moment. But here's the thing. Here's the plus side of it. Is that, sorry, the wind was just going crazy out there. I think that free energy devices over Unity, as we will call them, because again, they're not free. They just have an unlimited reservoir of energy they can pull from. So it's like a solar panel that doesn't require the sun, or a wind plant that doesn't require the wind. It just uses the ambient energy all around us in the 0-point fields. This is going to be like the next marijuana boom. So over the next 10 or 20 years, as this technology gets more and more accepted, the people that are the early adopters into the industry are going to become millionaires and billionaires. Just like any other power, just like the oil rush or gold rush or all these other things that are out there. The people that have devices ready to go, and there's probably going to be many, and the ones that are the most economical and most ready to go with it, they are going to make a ton of money off of this. The moment the government says, or the authority, let's just call it, because it's more than just the government. The moment the authority jumps in and says, okay, we're making free energy legal, we're going to give away licenses for certain companies to be able to sell them, just like they did with marijuana. Those people that get those licenses are going to immediately become rich. Immediately. Right? immediately. And also, this is not a direct analogy, but like NVIDIA, if you look at NVIDIA's stock price over the last 4 years, it's gone up like 20 times, something like that, something incredible. So you are going to see a lot of that happen too. Now, there will be competition from stuff like cold fusion, because cold fusion really uses some of the same properties, but they're just doing it with plasma instead, that has a natural asymmetry of charges when you run electric current through it relative to a magnetic motor. But they're both really doing the same thing, in my opinion, on the fundamental level. Now, some people will also say, well, cold fusion is really actually using deuterium mixed with, I forget what the other element is, and if you have huge containers for that, it's not technically just pulling the energy directly out of the ether. They may say, I don't know. Now, but this is the second point I want to get into on the free energy stuff. We're only going to talk about free energy for another 5 or 10 minutes, guys. I did make a video about it as well. So first misconception is that doesn't cost nothing to make. There's always this variable cost over time if you take a fixed cost and you spread it over the life of a product. The other thing is when it comes to UFOs, guys. Now, with UFOs, if you see, let's take a flying saucer. I was watching Ken Wheeler's video. A bunch of people posted in our Discord. Thank you very much for doing that, by the way. If you see this flying saucer in the sky, is just hovering there, the first thing you should ask yourself is, where is the fuel source for that? It blows my mind that people do not see the connection between something that's anti-gravity and free energy. And this is where people will say, well, they're using element 115. What the fuck? What does that mean? What does using element 115 mean? Is that a fuel source? How much element 115 do they have to have on board to go from here to Andromeda? Right? Like, we have to start thinking more logically. To me, unless you're looking at a plasma orb, like we have in the MH370 videos, if it's a plasma orb, I can say, okay, maybe they're just somehow turning the air or the water into the fuel source. Maybe. But if it's just a flying saucer, I mean, do they have the fuel inside of that thing somewhere? There's no rockets. There's nothing going on there. How is that thing levitating off the ground for, in some cases, hours? There's no fuel source that we know of that can do that. So really, the only logical conclusion, in my opinion, is that any type of field propulsion craft, flying saucer, anything that's manipulating gravity, it must have access to an unlimited reservoir of energy that we don't physically see, that we're not seeing in that craft. This is the part where when people say, like, why are you getting into free energy? Because that's the logical conclusion. The logical conclusion is they must be using an unlimited reservoir of energy that's ambiently out there everywhere. And then it's just a question of, is it available just on the Earth? I was talking to Mike Adams, the health ranger. I think we're going to do another follow-up soon about free energy, where you might argue like Tesla, or we're pulling the energy directly out of the Earth. That's feasible. But can we also do it in outer space? The 0-point fluctuations would say yes. Yes, we can. So if we have that unlimited energy that's out there, the ether that's out there, then that can explain how these crafts are able to float around. Vacuum polarization. They're manipulating the vacuum itself, pulling the energy out, allowing the craft to sail. And maybe they're pulling that energy while they're allowing that craft to sail, because what we found from the physics is that 0-point energy explains it all. This ocean of energy, this space-time is not empty. When you remove that energy, you fall into the zone, and you're making that into real usable energy at the same time. This is why when we see a lot of these powerful free energy devices, we see them extracting energy, and we also see them losing weight because they're actually changing the space-time structure around the object. Now, it's not a permanent change, because just like the ocean, when you pull the energy out, it immediately self-corrects, immediately re-neutralizes, if you want to think of it like that. And how fast is very fast, under a second, from what we've seen in the MH370 videos. Okay. So a couple more points on it. You can watch my clip that I made about it, but it does not violate the laws of thermodynamics. Doesn't violate the first or second law of thermodynamics. This process is totally possible within the realm of physics, and this is the most important thing. because the public has simply been brainwashed into this idea that free energy means that you're producing something from nothing. That's not true. Again, free energy is just the sea of energy that's out there. We're not producing it from nothing. We're extracting it out of there. And also, the better way to think of it is we're manifesting the energy. You could argue we're always manifesting energy. When we spin a generator, we're just manifesting the energy. And this is where it's like, isn't going to the source is always going to be the most efficient mechanism of extracting energy. Instead of all this stupid shit with nuclear power, we're like heating up some water and having it create steam and then having that run a turbine. Like, well, that's so indirect. That's not efficient. That's not how we should be doing it. If the universe is electrostatic, well, a capacitor is electrostatic. So let's just use a capacitor and store the energy there. And let's use a supercapacitor, which is basically a battery that's electrostatic that has a huge energy density in it. The second law of thermodynamics is not violated either. Yes, no system can be perfectly efficient, at least a closed system. But if you open your system up, so if you take your windmill can never be perfectly efficient. But if you open it up to the wind, now you have a situation where you can produce energy, even though the windmill itself is not producing it. We're using the wind to spin our turbine, and then we're using that or whatever. Hopefully that's how wind works. I actually don't even know. And then that's creating the energy that we need. So if we open up our magnetic motor or our static solid state, like Holcomb energy generator, if we open that up to the 0 point energy all around us, then we're not violating the second law of thermodynamics either. We have another input. So free energy is absolutely possible. We need to spread more and more awareness of it, and we need to break down the misconceptions. You could even argue that you shouldn't call it free energy and you should call it over unity, but free energy is the thing that really triggers people because in a sense, it really is free energy. I mean, we can extract unlimited, and the only thing our only limitation is how much we can extract at one go. And we can scale up an over unity device. So there really isn't much limitation to it. The last thing I'll say is that some people have said, well, wouldn't you use up all the energy? And really the analogy is like, is that like using up all the water in the ocean? Are we going to use up all the water in the ocean? If you're like a 5-year-old, you probably go, aren't we going to use up all the water in the ocean, Dad? And then your dad goes, no, son, there's something called the water cycle. So like when you drink the water, it's not just gone. It eventually gets back into the ocean, and it's getting back into the ocean at a rate that's faster than what we're able to deplete it. Now, this is the same thing that would be happening with the universe, but the universe is so incomprehensibly large that we would never have any appreciable effect on it. But that doesn't mean we can't literally break it, you know? So if we can extract so much energy at one go, you could argue we can extract it so fast that we're creating a singularity. And what is a singularity? A black hole or a wormhole. And so this gets to the point of, why are they hiding this? Why are they hiding this? My opinion is that we are hiding free energy, not because of aliens. And I believe that aliens are actually a psyop. I actually believe, I'm going on the record, I'm saying aliens are psyop. Now, don't get mad at me. Chill out, UFO people. Chill out. I'm not saying aliens aren't real. I'm not saying that. I actually think non-human intelligence is definitely real. It's out there somewhere. We could even be the aliens. But there's something out there. The universe is really, really big. What I'm saying when I say that aliens are a psyop, or that UFOs are a psyop, or whatever, I'm saying that the government, the private military contractors, the covert administrative elite that really run this country and run this world, that have access to this technology, they are using aliens as a shiny keys to distract us. Where are my keys? They want you to look over here. It's the prestige. It's the prestige. They want you to look at the aliens here. Why? Because then you're not looking at free energy over here. You're not going, wait, how is that UFO just hovering over there in the sky? How's this thing hovering over here? How's it doing that? Oh, free energy. That's the only answer. Instead, they want you going, look at this. Look at the keys. Keep your eyes focused on the keys. Don't look over here. That's what's going down. Okay. That's what they're doing. That's what, and I truly believe that at least some, if not all, of these UFO disclosure people, they all know each other too. Isn't that suspicious? They all just like know each other. And they have government connections. Some of them clearly have NDAs as well. They are not allowed to look over here, look over here at the free energy, whichever direction. They're not allowed to because they know it's a national security issue. So some people, there are obviously more than one reason why they would hide it. There's more than one reason. This is a much more complicated issue than government's evil. Yes, government is probably evil, but it's not so much that it would destroy the energy companies and oil and our dependence on fossil fuels. Certainly it will do that, and that is a factor. It will destroy certain industries overnight, but it's not that wouldn't be the main reason why you hold it back. Yes, that's impactful, but the rich people can still take advantage of 0-point energy devices and free energy devices, and they can still monopolize it. So that's not really the total reason. I think the bigger reason is the destructive capability. If you have a device that has the ability to perpetually extract energy and store that energy, then you can see that if you increase the rate or you just increase the storage, you can get to a situation where you have a massive amount of energy at your disposal. And there could be very powerful destructive effects that you can cause, including creating a nuclear bomb explosion out of practically nothing, or creating a literal black hole out of nothing. These are the things that I think the government's really afraid of. Why? Because when we listen to Paul Siz, when we listen to Paul Siz, he says what they're worried about is a suitcase bomb. They're worried about the random person who doesn't have any will to live, and they destroy all of us. That is the national security issue. That's a national security issue, no doubt. No doubt. And I'm going to reveal something that I don't think is going to burn any bridge. I think I've said this once before. Oh, also I saw a donation. Hold on. We are the change. Thank you, brother. You've been awesome. I think you're a man. If you're not, thank you, ma'am. Watch out for the skeezers and weirdos that will try to take the MH370 investigation down. Keep up the good work. Yeah, for sure. Crap, I forgot what I was going to say. Thank you very much. Oh, yeah, okay. So what I was going to reveal is this. So I have talked, in fact, I'm always open with everybody. I try to keep it 100% honest with everybody I talk to. I have nothing to hide. And people have asked, like Jesse Michaels retweeted the clip I played earlier today about us hiding this science and hiding this technology. I have spoken to Jesse Michaels on several occasions, going back all the way. The first time was like a year ago. I spoke to Jesse Michaels. And I told him the truth. I said, I think this technology will lead to the end of the world. That's what I told him. I said that you should know that, and I want you to understand the risks. And he told me that he wasn't very comfortable if that was true. You know, how do you take that? Take that however you want. I don't blame him for that. I absolutely think so. That may be a factor in why he didn't want to do like a video about me, but it's not, my stuff isn't really exactly like his content. I mean, he's more of Thomas Townsend Brown and Nick Cook and, you know, the hunt for 0-point energy. But I do think that it is influencing his content. If you look at Jesse Michaels' content over the last year, you'll see it's heavy into anti-gravity, heavy into 0-point energy as well. And he's been talking to Hal Puthoff, et cetera. Like, you know, it seems like he gets it. But the reason why I bring up the Jesse Michaels story is not to diminish him at all. I think that everybody has their own free will and what they want to discuss. Is that I want you guys to realize that there are good people like Jesse, and I think he's a good guy, that they want to protect this information. They want to protect this. If given a choice, they will protect this information. This is why I asked Julian Dory when I was on a space with him after he interviewed Lou Elizondo. I said, Julian, my question for you, if disclosure meant the end of the world, would you still want it? And you can look at that in multiple ways. You could say, oh, is the alien invasion going to come? But what I meant was, if disclosure gives us free energy devices that can create doomsday weapons, a suitcase bomb that can destroy the whole planet, do you still want that? Ultimately, his answer was no. So I want you guys to realize that there are a lot of people out there that are good people that are willing to cover up this information. They're willing to cover it up. And I also want you to realize I'm not going to let that happen. We are going to get full disclosure. And 0 point energy is going to come along with it, including free energy devices. Yeah, we should be able to choose our own destiny. So when it comes to MH370, they clearly covered it up because of free energy, because of all those implications I just gave you. And even the good guys are trying to cover it up because in their mind, they're willing to disclose aliens are real to people, but they're not willing to disclose super weapons beyond comprehension. They're not willing to disclose that. That's a national security issue for them. So I wanted you guys to realize that that's what we're dealing with here. But they're stuck. They're stuck. They don't have a lot of plays. You and I, we, MH370X, we've backed them into a corner. Why? Because how can they talk about warp drives and wormholes and this technology without talking about free energy? We've coupled them together. How can they talk about that stuff without talking about the MH370 videos? They also don't want to destroy trust in the United States government, which is what is going to happen when the MH370 videos are admitted to be real. No one who's alive right now will ever trust the United States government ever again, anyone on this planet, when it turns out we stole a civilian airliner with 239 people and potentially murdered all the people on board. No one's going to ever trust the United States government ever again. If we were able to do that and cover that up, that's it. No more trust. You have to realize a lot of these people, they do not, that's like the thing they fear the most. That's what the gatekeepers fear the most, is that you will never trust them ever again. So this is why people are against me and against the videos. I represent, you guys represent, we represent a major threat to the establishment, to the established order in general. And it's very difficult because I've intentionally done this. I've coupled these things together so that if you admit one, you're automatically going to get the other. And I don't even have to work very hard. Why? Because all the physics is connected. So when people try to say, oh yeah, warp drives and wormholes are possible, then people go, well, obviously the MH370 videos are real then, because we're literally staring at it in high definition and super high detail and infrared thermal from a military video, right? And I've also coupled free energy with it as well. So when they try to say, yeah, 0 point energy is real and we can manipulate gravity, but no, we can't do free energy, you go, yes, we can. Yes, we can, because the physics is exactly the same. Exactly the same. They come together. There's no separating them. And this is why you watch people like Lou Elizondo on Glenn Beck, and his face is beaming when he's explaining to Glenn Beck how warp drive works and how if I bend the paper, if I bend the paper, chat, then I can show you how the warp drive is bending the space-time. And then he goes, do you mean like a wormhole? And he goes, yeah, like a wormhole. And he goes, oh, what about those MH370 videos of some orbs teleporting the plane in a wormhole? He goes, well, I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I just believe that JFK and MK Ultra and aliens are being hidden. But no. When it comes to stealing an airplane, no. It's like we got them stuck. We've got them stuck, chat. So that's my goal. That's what I wanted to get to you guys before we dig into the MH370 stuff here. We couple these things together. That's our playbook. And you may say, Ashton, why are you telling the world what your strategy is? Why not? You think they're not monitoring every single thing that I do? If they're not monitoring every single thing that I do, then they're pretty damn bad at their jobs, to be honest with you. Either the private military contractors or the government or whatever it is. They're not monitoring every single thing I do. So they already know what my strategy is. So to me, I don't care. I'll just tell the whole world exactly what my strategy is. And shit, I want to see their reaction. Like, what's their next move? So to me, their next move, yes, high PMCs. To me, their next move is this. They have to find a way to separate me from the science and separate me from the videos. And they already tried separating me from the videos like a year ago. That failed completely because of you guys. You made it impossible. The next way they're going to do it, they're looking for an angle where they can be like, yeah, aliens are real and they're warp driving themselves through the cosmos to get to us, but we definitely didn't steal that airliner, though. That's still missing, guys. We didn't steal that airliner. They're looking for an out there, or they say like Ashton just guessed at all this science, like he didn't really know, because like otherwise, it's like how did this random guy with no physics background, no engineering background, how did he figure out all this 0-point energy stuff? Like it's gonna be pretty tough to explain away. Oh, he just guessed. He just guessed. He was just lucky, just really lucky, right? So, okay, guys. There you go. You got my thing. And yeah, so this is the part 2 where it's like the best part now is they're all referencing Hal Puthoff, which I couldn't have. Like they're doing my job for me. They're doing my job for me. I found Hal Puthoff like 6 months ago, and I was like, oh shit, okay, this guy, he's seen some UFOs. He's seen some floaty orbs. Hal Puthoff, his body of scientific work from the 1980s onwards is like he obviously was in black projects where he saw 0-point energy as the answer to all of this. Hal Puthoff literally is on a video I've got talking about over unity and sonoluminescence. Like, come on, man. I've got you, Hal Puthoff. I've got you. And next thing you know, you've got James Fox's new UFO documentary is going to feature Hal Puthoff. We saw a clip of him. You got Lou Elizondo telling Joe Rogan and Glenn Beck that they should talk to Hal Puthoff. Like, good luck disconnecting me from the 0-point energy. Good luck disconnecting me from the MH370 stuff. Like, this is the point where it's like, I call myself an investigator. Like, we've got them dead to rights here, man. We've got you dead to rights. Like, this is like, we're investigating the murder, and we've got you on video with the gun shooting somebody, and you're covered in blood, and you're covered in their blood. Like, what more do you want, man? There it is. And people are going, no, that video of me shooting that person's fake. That's fake. And I'm like, I've got the gun. I've got the blood all over you. I've got the motive. I've got all of it. Like, there you go. Here it is. No, that's CGI. That's a video game effect. Jesus, man. I'm literally holding the bloody knife. Red-handed, man. Okay. Oh, we got haters. You're not known except for a few useless idiot scientists that were too mediocre for the Black Project. Guys, Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis know who I am. They know who I am. Do you guys realize that, like, I was given a scientific paper from Hal Puthoff, or that Hal Puthoff wrote? I was given a scientific paper that Hal Puthoff wrote, and it's the one I referenced on my free energy clip today, where the hydrogen atom at rest doesn't radiate energy. Nobody told me what to think. This paper showed up, written by Hal Puthoff, and I looked at it and I went, oh shit, this proves we're in an equilibrium of energy. Because otherwise it should be radiating energy. It's not, because it's sitting on the ocean. So what, you think that Hal Puthoff and Eric Davis don't know who I am? They know. They know, chat. Now, that being said, I'm going to tell the truth. I've never directly spoken to either of them. But I'm sure they know who I am, though. You guys crack me up, chat. Okay, let's get going. That's enough free energy for today. Sorry, but I love free energy, and shit, I found like a couple devices that I'm sure are legit. Oh, one more thing, guys, because I just love free energy. The Liberty engine, whoever it was that sent me that scientific paper about the alloy of the thing, I don't think that paper is supposed to be known, chat. You can find it if you dig around my replies. I'm not going to promote it actively. I'm not. Okay. So the PMCs who are freaking out or whatever out there, not going to promote it actively. But you read that paper, Wow. Okay. I get it. Oh, I will give you guys one hint. I drew something here. So I forgot. I wanted to share this. We're going to go over this on Friday on Free Energy Friday some more, but I'm probably going to end up deleting this. I mean, this is my garbage artwork, but I want to show you guys something here. Okay. So there's 3 things I want to show you. Can I make this bigger? Okay. First is the sea of energy, right? We've got this sea of energy. That's this garbage wave that you see here in the middle. How do we manipulate it? Let's look at, does this design up here in the top look familiar? The Liberty engine, right? So these lines are the magnets that they have in the Liberty engine. This is the rotor, the alloy rotor they use. Now, what is a magnet? A magnet is an orientation of electron spins. So in a magnet, all the electron spins are lined up, just like if you were in a perfect alignment, marched in line in one specific direction. I knew William was gonna. William, you deserve to hate on my terrible drawings. You do. So bravo, sir. You got me on that one. Yeah, the MS Paint. So then imagine a material. Imagine a material where we could orient the spins of the electrons in the material itself. A metamaterial, an alloy, so to speak. I'm sure this is the answer for how the Liberty engine is able to work. The secret is the alloy. And why is the secret the alloy? Because of the material they're using that produces the type of electron, the alignment of the electron spins that you need. Now, I just drew one here that nobody told me this. I just imagined it. What if your spins are aligned around the edge of your circle, just like you see here on this drawing? Could this create a situation where instead of flipping on and off our magnet, we have a situation where naturally the alignment of the spins causes perpetual motion? Just something to keep in mind. I'm just speculating. This is just a LARP, guys. If anybody were to ask me, I'd say this is for entertainment only, but I don't know. Seems like it could be something there. Now, here's the other option, the Casimir cavity option. How can we produce free energy from a Casimir cavity? Or actually really just from 0-point energy in general. If you imagine the 0-point energy as a random fluctuation, imagine it just arrows either up, down, left, or right randomly. Well, if we align them all to go in the same direction, so we change these from being random that you see here to where they're all lined up, they're all shooting directly upward. Is that work? Did we just cause work to happen? If we can somehow harness that so that we have them all go in any random direction and then they all immediately flip upright, can that be harnessed into usable energy and usable work? I think the answer is yes. And I think that that's what magnets are potentially doing to the ambient 0-point energy all around them. And I think that's what the Casimir cavities can pull off as well. So pretty interesting. Okay, that's enough of that. I'm actually going to delete this now. So that's gone from history, that terrible MS Paint drawing. So unless you're watching this live stream, you'll never see that again. Okay, so what are we really talking about today? We're going to talk about Diego Garcia. We're going to talk about MH370. And we are going to talk about the radar plots. We're going to do a little bit of investigation in the second half of the stream tonight. Yeah, imagine if I interviewed Hal Puthoff. I see, like, you know why I don't like interviewing people that I know stuff? Because I'm too honest. I can only ask hard questions. So for people like Salvatore Pais, it's great because he doesn't mind. But you know, if you're somebody who's got some secrets, like I'm gonna get to your secrets. You know, especially in an open interview. So it's tough. Oh, graphene, yeah, graphene. We'll probably talk about graphene on Friday or maybe on Wednesday. I don't know, guys. Let's focus on Diego or on. Let's focus on MH370. So I'm gonna show the videos one more time. The coordinates of the MH370 videos are going to become relevant for the second half when we look at the. Actually, you know what? Let's show them afterwards. Give me one sec. Get Ian on. Ian Carroll? What Ian? The Bigfoot are country hunters? I don't know what you guys are talking about. Okay. Oh, yeah. I guess you guys can tell what this is. It's cough syrup. I've got a cough, guys. Probably shouldn't promote drinking on stream, though. Probably shouldn't. Yeah, I felt like, felt like a little Jaeger tonight. I don't know why, chat. I don't know. Oh, Ian Crossland is a graphene guy. I actually could get Ian on, probably. I could probably get Ian on. I've been meaning to want to talk to Ian again, which I might. That's a good idea, actually, chat. Okay. Diego Garcia. So, where did the plane go? Everybody, I always ask. I get it like 10 times a day. Not that much, but you guys get the point. Now, I'm going to pull up, where's the image? I'm going to pull up the image for you guys, the Diego Garcia image. Oh, what the hell is that? Okay, here we go. Okay, you guys can see this. Okay, so based on the location of the videos, our plane is somewhere over here at the top right, somewhere up here. It's also based on, there's a witness who's here as well. So where did the plane go? Based on the direction of travel of the plane going east and the plane getting sucked backwards, we believe the plane is teleported somewhere on Earth over to the west, which there's the Maldives. Fire suppression device washes up in the Maldives. We've got a bunch of islanders who see the plane in the early morning hours. So the plane seems to be somehow getting over here to the west. The islanders saw the plane flying towards Diego Garcia. Diego Garcia is just simply the only logical place for this plane to go. There's nowhere else on Earth that you're hiding a commercial airliner without a bunch of people detecting it and seeing it, radar seeing it. You can't land this plane at a commercial airport. If MH370 lands at a commercial airport, like the whole world's going to know about it. So this plane must get somehow to Diego Garcia, this very secretive military base that was actually made famous by this plane. All these conspiracy theories out there said that the plane got to Diego Garcia. Some people think it was remote controlled. Some people think that the pilot flew it there. Some people think that it was shot down near Diego Garcia. But really, all the conspiracy theories, this is where they're saying that the plane ended up. There were some other locations that people speculated, but they don't make any sense. The Philip Wood picture. So a black picture shows up on 4chan, I believe was March 19th, about 10 days after the plane disappeared, saying that he was being held prisoner by some military people and that he felt like he was drugged and he didn't know where he was. They looked at the metadata in the picture and they found that it was Diego Garcia. And then people found out, oh, there's a CIA black site at Diego Garcia as well. I actually read another story earlier today that people claim that there was some kind of old volcano here and they like hollowed it out. And there's some huge underground structure at Diego Garcia. Some people say that there's a big submarine docking station in Diego Garcia as well. So there's all these weird theories about what's going on here. I also found a bunch of contracts to Black Construction. And if you read Black Construction's website, it talks about they do these elaborate projects. And these contracts for dredging, so basically digging underground, digging water out or digging rock out of the bottom of the water. So we've got some evidence, and these are not small contracts; they're tens of millions of dollars. These contracts, and maybe there's more. These are just the ones we could find. Combined, it was at least $50 million. Some people say, "Oh, that's not that much money." If you're in Southeast Asia, $50 million worth of construction contracts is going to get you a lot of manual labor, a lot. I lived in Singapore, and you guys do not want to know. You actually, if you live in America and you've never left America, you would literally not believe how fast buildings are put up and how cheaply. They literally use slave labor from India and the Philippines. It's basically where all the manual labor comes from, India and the Philippines. And they pay them practically nothing. Much lower than minimum wage in the United States. Much lower. So there you go. Not to go on a little political tangent, but there you go. Okay, so plane ends up in Diego Garcia. Now, there was a recent article that just dropped. And as I'm pulling this article up here, we're going to take a look at this. Most of it was bullshit because it's just the BBC, but there's some interesting aspects in this article. Now, before we look at this article in detail here, they all use the same picture of Diego Garcia. A couple other little pieces of background about it. There's a weird, I'm going to call it disinformation campaign. Whenever you mention Diego Garcia, there's always someone in the comments saying, I was at Diego Garcia. There's nothing secret at Diego Garcia, which is the weirdest shit. Anytime you're hearing that there's nothing secret there, there's definitely something secret there. First of all, if you knew there was something secret there, A, you wouldn't be able to talk about it, and B, you would probably have to lie about it. So there's no situation where anyone would ever be admitting to there being something secret at the base. And if you didn't know, then you wouldn't know. If you're not read it, if you don't have the security clearance, then you wouldn't even know there's something there. You could be on a base and you would have no idea that there's something there. So people have seen, everybody's seen these comments, especially around Diego Garcia. For some reason, Diego Garcia like brings the trolls out going, I was stationed there and there's nothing secret. Stop looking into it. Like, oh no. There's absolutely, I am 100% convinced there is something secret going on this base. Another thing is there are some asylum seekers. There are asylum seekers that have been stuck on this base for 3 years. They washed ashore on a boat, like 20 of them, and they haven't been allowed to leave. They wouldn't even let anybody come onto the island to see the conditions of them. What are they hiding? There's something going on here that they don't want anybody to even be around because they're afraid people are going to see something they're not meant to see. If I had to speculate, there's something underground going on. They might even test like the orbs out here because it's in the middle of nowhere. If you're testing floaty orbs around your military base, you definitely don't want random people hanging out because they're going to see them. They're going to look in the sky and they go, wait, why am I seeing 3 lights in a triangle formation floating around in the sky? And they're going to go, oh, it's U.S. secret military technology. Got it. Right? They don't want people to put together the 2 and 2. Okay, so Alice Cuddy apparently finally, this is 2 days ago, was finally allowed to go onto this base. Finally allowed to go on this base. We're not going to read through this whole thing because, God, these BBC journalists, it's just a bunch of garbage. Like, why? She writes for like 5 pages about the history of it and the lush beaches and all this stuff. No one gives a shit about any of this. We want to know the juicy secret stuff. Tell me the sketchy shit about it. Oh, the base, blah, 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 bought by the Americans, blah, blah, blah. If you don't know the history of this base is really sketchy as well. Like, we removed all the indigenous people and we shipped them out and we like killed all their pets. Like, what was so important about this location that we had to go to such a level to like displace all the indigenous people? If you're a Kamala Harris supporter, bro, where's the DEI inclusion? Where's the reparations for these people? Right? These people deserve reparations more than basically anybody else who's alive right now. So, you know, you should be on this. This is like a humanitarian crisis at the moment. I'm going to skip through some of the interesting parts here. Kamala Harris supporters, don't at me. I'm just pulling your chain a little bit. Apparently this person was like being watched the whole time they were at this base. Somebody was like logging every time they went in and out. They were only allowed to access to very specific areas of the base. This does not sound like a situation where they have nothing to hide. If you have nothing to hide, you're not like basically keeping someone in prison when they're here checking this out. To me, that's the only situation where there's something you don't want these people to see, so you're being very careful about it. To be perfectly honest with you, 90% of this article is just straight up trash. Like, why are you telling us about, I'm in the terminal and there's a door decorated with a Union Jack print and walls hung with photos of significant British figures. So what, bro? What? How is this? Who cares, man? Who cares? Cars drive on the right, as in the US. So what, dude? How? This is BBC journalism. No one gives a shit about what side of the road they're driving the cars on a tiny island. How is this even newsworthy? I want to know, what secret shit are they hiding? What's the layout of the base? Did you see anything weird? What was the odd stuff that was going on? Oh, they accept US dollars. Okay, great. Who cares? The electric sockets are American. Oh, wow. The electric sockets are American. Crazy, man. Okay, so I actually couldn't believe it. I went through most of this and I was like, there's nothing here. Like, the headline is, I was at the secret base and it's really sketchy, and you don't hear anything. God. The atmosphere on the island feels relaxed. Well, yeah, you're in the tropics. What do you want? Let's see what else we got here. The cinema advertises screenings of Aliens and Borderlands. How chat? How is this in an article? Who cares? Yes, we know movies exist, chat. They have movies at Diego Garcia. Wow, it's just like in America. Okay. Well, okay. So then here's one of the things. The British military officials kept a close eye on the court's movements. Okay, and then here's what they talk about. We just like literally like destroyed these people's lives. Literally destroyed these people's lives. Took them off the island. Just a history lesson. So we're already like 75% of the way through, and we're still on a history lesson related to us displacing these islanders, which there's a bunch of stories about anyway. Okay. Oh, and then there was another story in here about how we like lied that we weren't using this as a storage facility for criminals, and then it turns out that we were actually like using at a minimum. There's a CIA black site here. At a minimum, we're using as a transportation location for people from like Afghanistan, Iraq, etc. This is one of the very limited places to store submarines. And don't worry, we're going to get to the very tiny amount of useful information here. Hyper focus on controlling access, on limiting access. During my time on the island, I'm required to wear a red visitor pass, closely monitored at all times. My accommodation is guarded 24 hours a day, and the men outside make a note of when I leave and when I return, always under escort. Okay, well, there we go. So we're 75, 80% of the way through this article, and we finally get to an actually useful piece of evidence related to their stay on this base. You're monitored all the time. Having a pass is pretty normal. Monitored all the time. You have an armed escort everywhere you go, and they're writing down notes every time you leave and every time you come back. Why would they need to do all of that unless they're worried about you seeing something that you shouldn't see? What could there be to be hide on a random military base? To me, one of the only things would be seeing some kind of technology you're not meant to see. Just a thought. And then here's the stuff about the CIA black site. So the U.S. The U.S. government assured us that no U.S. detainees have ever been held on Diego Garcia. No record. So basically, there's like no records on here. Actually, in 2014, after MH370, there was water damage, and a bunch of the records related to Diego Garcia were destroyed as well. That's a true story. You can find that around there. I think it was June 2014, right after the plane disappeared. What a coincidence. Some water damage destroys a bunch of the records at Diego Garcia. Okay. And that, like, literally it just kind of ends here. Now, the last paragraphs have really the only real spicy stuff. I was not allowed near any of Diego Garcia's sensitive military areas. Okay. Before flying out, my passport was stamped with the territory's coat of arms. Its motto reads, Intutia Nostra Lemuria, whatever that means in Latin. Lemuria is our charge, a reference to a mythical lost continent in the Indian Ocean. I didn't even know this was a thing. There's some kind of mythical lost continent in the Indian Ocean. What? They stamped their passport with some weird Latin shit? Now that is spicy. That is really spicy. Now I looked into this, guys. I'm not going to pull it up right now here. Yeah, make sure you hit the like on the stream. I appreciate you guys. Apparently, some, what would be the word for them? I don't know, biologists would be the word or what have you. Some explorers, let's call them. Some explorers realize that there's these fossils, lemur fossils, both in India and in Western and Eastern Africa, but there's none in Central Africa. So what they concluded was there must have been some land bridge between these two regions. They're too far apart. And so they came up with this mythical continent that could have connected the two regions. Now, this was back before we understood continental drift. So now they've thrown out this idea of this mythical continent of Lemuria or whatever it's called. And they said, no, well, they were just, in the past, they were closer together. And now they've been separated apart. So we don't need this continent that connects them. This is starting to get spicy. Because just because continental drift is real doesn't mean that there couldn't have been some type of land bridge or land mass that was connecting these regions before. Heck, with continental drift, you can have things sink into the water. In fact, it's like what happens when the plate tectonics hit is one shifts and falls into the water. So I think it's pretty interesting to think that, like, why do they have this weird passport stamp? Lemuria is in our charge. And why do we care so much about this location in the South Indian Ocean? You could say from a strategic perspective, but it's in the middle of the ocean. So it helps us monitor the ocean, but I don't think it really helps us monitor Russia or China that much. Maybe. I would say India would having a base in India would be a much better place to help us monitor Russia and China than the middle of the Indian Ocean. There is something sketchy going on in this military base in Diego Garcia. Absolutely something sketchy going on here. My opinion, let me see, is there anything else? Actually, that's it. So this article, in my opinion, this article was garbage. Yeah, I learned almost nothing except for that last piece about Lemuria or whatever. That was the only new thing that I learned. Everything else I had already known all about Diego Garcia. But then again, I've already investigated Diego Garcia probably more than most people. There's also these electro-optical telescope or something situation where it's like one of the few places we have this deep space observatory capability that's based in Diego Garcia as well. One of like 6 places on the planet. So they've got that going on in Diego Garcia as well. If I had to speculate, there's something geographically important about the location of Diego Garcia. Maybe there's something underwater that's going on there, like related to some old volcano or something. Like maybe we found something. Maybe, actually my number one thing is actually with the people that were saying stuff about Atlantis. I think there might have been some kind of civilization there. We found some archaeological find at Diego Garcia, and now we're covering it up. So for people that say, like, I think it was Ross Coulthard said something about the buried craft that's too big to move. To me, the number one location for that craft is Diego Garcia. That's the place that makes the most sense for me. If there's something buried, hidden somewhere, Diego Garcia. I mean, sure, it could be anywhere on Earth, but Diego Garcia, there's something going on underground there, right? So there you go. Wait, Lemuria is related to the Pleiades? See, I don't know any of the lore about any of this stuff. I'm new to all this. So now my casual Pleiades, is that how you even say it? Pleiades, whatever. I'm going to call it Pleiades. casual Pleiades enjoyers, got a little spice out of tonight's stream for you guys there. Yeah, there's a lagoon there. We actually also, about a year ago, we looked all on Google Earth everywhere, and we went back in the years, and there's some weird anomalies. Now, I don't know if they're just, computer anomalies from whatever the images or whatever it is, but it's an unusual base for sure. I definitely feel like there's something underground at Diego Garcia. Okay, I'm just checking the comments here. Oh, yeah, and if you guys have questions about MH370, today is the day, chat. Today is the day. Bermuda Triangle is, I definitely, that also feels a little bit weird at this point. After you've seen an airplane just get teleported out of space-time, you definitely start to wonder about the lore of the Bermuda Triangle. Like, why is this weird area in the ocean have so much history of things disappearing in it? Now, I moved away from that early on. Like, when this investigation first started, I went, oh shit, Bermuda Triangle must be a connection. I moved more away from it when I realized, like, we're looking at our technology with these orbs. And more I find out about the science, the more absolutely convinced I am it's our technology with the orbs. Absolutely, 100%. I am absolutely sure those orbs of plasma are human technology. Doesn't mean that aliens don't exist, but those orbs are not created by aliens. No, I could be wrong. I'd say the percentage is like 95 to 5%, maybe a little bit less. We'll see. Okay. Do you think we're using wormhole tech in outer space? Good question. I think that the technology of these orbs, it has limitations. And I think it's limited by how far you can send that orb. So remember, like, unless you can teleport just one orb, you would have to send that one orb somewhere. Let's use this Sony cap. You have to send this orb somewhere, and wherever that orb is, you can now teleport this object to that orb. That's a huge limitation, which to me means that the type of teleportation technology we're dealing with here is probably in 2014, when those videos were filmed, it was limited to basically just being able to transport stuff around Earth, or maybe to the moon, maybe. Now, you could still just use warp drive, like what the orbs are doing by themselves, and you could still get very far, but you're not getting to the Andromeda Galaxy. You're not even getting to Alpha Centauri with that. So that's the part two where it feels like when we look at that, that's like our version of what we think alien technology would be like, which was really just 0-point energy technology. And it's going to get much more advanced. In fact, I'd love to see what we've been able to do in the last 10 years between 2014 and now. It's probably gotten even crazier, to be honest with you. I'm at the point where it would not surprise me if we have literal stargates. Like, would not surprise me. We've got literal stargates that can just, you walk through the portal, just like the show, the movie or TV show, movie Stargate, and you just go from one location. Now you're in another location, like a permanent bridge between two locations. That wouldn't surprise me anymore, which is crazy because I thought that would just be, I just never would have thought that's even physically possible. But it's come a long way in a year, chat. And for people wondering, I will almost never say that anything is impossible. I will always give it at least probably like a tiny fraction of a percent chance that it's possible. Okay. A bunch of people tweeted this stuff to me, guys. Don't feel bad. I mean, I get spammed with so much stuff now, guys. It's crazy how much stuff I get hit with now. I'm a big social media influencer now, chat. Big social media influencer. It's hard out here being a guy that's doing science. That's like the lowest on the totem pole of social media stuff. It's like sports ball, drama, fights, hot girls. Somewhere way down here below the screen, you got dudes that are talking about science. It's like the bottom of the rung. Okay. Okay, next thing I want to do for the rest of the stream is review. We're gonna look at the Inmarsat data. We're gonna actually look at this right now, to be honest with you. So I have directly accused Inmarsat of fraud. I've accused them of fraud. I don't have proof that they have committed fraud, but I would go to court against them and I would seek discovery. The problem is they've been sold to Viasat, so my guess is they destroyed all their records related to MH370. Nothing about the satellite pings makes any sense. When you look at the satellite pings, maybe I'll pull them up. When you look at the satellite pings, this is the real raw data, by the way, and it's in its original form. The data is full and complete. You can see all these rows from when the plane took off until the Nicobar Islands. And when it gets to the Nicobar Islands at around 1840 UTC, the data just cuts off. So you've got all this data here, and then all of a sudden it's only pinging once an hour. And it's the exact location where this happens that they claim the plane turned into the South Indian Ocean, which normally I would probably dismiss. But when I'm looking at two videos that are United States military videos of the plane literally disappearing out of space-time in the Nicobar Islands, and then I go look at the data and there's a major anomaly at the exact same time, I go, wait a minute. Is this data legit? Is this data fraudulent? Right here is where you're starting to see it. Now, this is where the first phone call, they call, here's the other weirdest part. They call the plane at 1840 UTC when the plane is turning into the South Indian Ocean. They call. Why did they not call before that? If you ask any of these experts out there, they'll go, we don't know why they didn't call. What the fuck do you mean you don't know why they didn't call? How is nobody asking that question? Shouldn't they? There should be dozens of phone calls to the airplane. I thought you're telling me it's a suicidal pilot or a hijacking. If that's the case, where are the other dozen or so calls? If it was me and the airplanes disappeared, I'm calling them every 5 seconds on my phone until they pick up. How does this make any sense? It doesn't. Here's the real kicker, chat. Supposedly, let me pull up a different image for you guys. So I've accused Inmarsat of fraud. That's official. It's on the record. I'm on a live stream right now. I emailed them. They won't email me back. I've asked them for an official on the record statement for the fact that I've accused them of fraud. We found nothing in the South Indian Ocean. We never found a single thing in the South Indian Ocean. The only evidence that the plane went in the South Indian Ocean is the Inmarsat pings. That's it. There's no witnesses that saw the plane down there. And there's not even a sighting of anybody seeing anything in the South Indian Ocean, even though it's an active shipping route. Nobody sees a Boeing 777 in the early morning hours crashing into the ocean. Nope. Nobody. No one. Zero evidence this plane is in the South Indian Ocean except for some sketchy Inmarsat pings, which, by the way, Inmarsat is connected to United States intelligence. Amazing. Amazing that all these coincidences. United States intelligence just so happens to be connected to the only source of any evidence that links this plane to the South Indian Ocean. We don't find any black boxes. We don't even find one piece of the plane in the South Indian Ocean. That's weird. Then we look at this debris that washed ashore. I'm going to get to the next thing. And I'm going to show a different version of this. I want you guys to see an incredible oceanic model predicted a year ago that MH370 would end up where the debris has now been found. So this is right after the debris was found. So this model is from before any debris was found. So it can't be corrupted, right? Somebody ran a model before they found anything. They wouldn't have manipulated the model because they didn't know where the debris was going to show up. Let's look at what the model says. Oh, look at that. This model says all the debris, which it's weird that the headline is the model predicted where the debris would end up. Why is this ironic? Because the model actually contraindicates the debris. You guys have eyes, right? You're looking at this. This model to me says all the debris should have washed ashore in Western Australia. In fact, if I just read the thing that I'm seeing with my eyes here, The red here is 18 to 24 months. 18 to 24 months is what this red one is. Well, the debris was found in just over 1 year, which is if I count 1 year as 12 months, I don't know what world you guys are on. In my world, a year is 12 months. That would be the green area here. So if we look at the green area here, it is quite literally impossible for the debris to have washed ashore over here on the west in the Reunion Islands or anywhere near Africa. Anywhere near Africa. In fact, if you look at the ocean currents flow to the east down here, as you can see by this analysis that they've done. They don't flow to the west. So just basic understanding of physics and ocean currents rules out a crash site in the South Indian Ocean. I mean, you're staring at it just like I'm staring at it right here. So, two options. There's only two logical options here. Oh, and I'll show the other image real quick too, just so, because this other image really brings it home. So you saw that first one. Look at where all the debris was found. This is a map of where all the debris was found. The piece that they were talking about was the one that's closest to the crash site. This is the crash site they claim down here based on the Inmarsat pings only. This piece furthest to the east is the one where they're talking about with the flapper on. Look at where all the rest of the debris was found. Way too far away. Completely impossible. Remember, look at this. There's nothing even close to mainland Africa on this model. And yet the debris is washing ashore on mainland Africa. So what are the options, chat? One, that debris is not from MH370. That's one option. Two, the plane didn't crash in the South Indian Ocean. This plane went down somewhere else, or it didn't go down at all. My story has been the plane didn't go down at all. So how can this debris be from MH370? I think this debris that you're staring at here on this screen is from MH370. Where did it go in the water? Well, look at this dot right here that says Diego Garcia Military Base. Oh, look. The currents from Diego Garcia Military Base do go to the Reunion Islands, and they go to mainland Africa as well. In fact, in a year, that's about a perfect match. If I haven't done the drift analysis, but I would guess for 1 year's worth of drifting, all the debris is perfectly accounted for, assuming it went into the water near Diego Garcia Military Base. There you go. And no, we've never found the bulk of the plane. Even all of this debris added up doesn't even prove a plane crashed. The analogy I like to give is like finding my finger and claiming this proves that I'm dead. Finding my finger doesn't prove that I'm dead. You don't even need a flapper on to fly a plane. You don't even need a flapper on to land a plane. That's the biggest piece by far. Not even close. So, now let's go to our next image. Now, this is the new one that we're going to research here a little bit tonight. So now you guys have been caught up. Somebody asked about the Candace Owens interview. No idea when it's going to drop. Haven't even asked her. I sent them a bunch of stuff. I think it went fine. I don't think there's any reason why she wouldn't play it, but that's up to her. I don't care. Let's see. Do I think it landed in the water? I think it landed at Diego Garcia. I would be open to a theory in where the plane somehow crashed in the Maldives. Problem is, how are you hiding in a debris field? There's boats all over the place. Someone's going to find pieces of the plane in the water. So the bigger issue is, how did nobody find anything? To me, the bulk of the plane cannot be in the water. Instead, the plane got ripped apart and a few pieces fell into the water. And that's why nobody found those few pieces until they washed ashore. One piece here or there, nobody's going to find, but a whole plane worth of pieces, people are going to start finding it. Okay. Now, this image right here represents the radar data. The last radar ping is at 1822 UTC, which you see right here where it says 18 NM separation, 1822 UTC. This was the last Malaysian military radar contact at 1822. Now, why is 1822 interesting? The story is that at 1825, 3 minutes after this, so I'm going to hold my mouse over here, right here. 3 minutes after this data point, they claim that the computers turned back on. All of a sudden, at 1825, the satellite data started transmitting back to the satellite again. That's the claim. I don't know what the proof is of that. That's the claim. The claim, oh, the computers just magically turned back on at 1825, 3 minutes after we lost radar contact. Now we're tracking the plane again. Now we've got satellite data that says it went into the South Indian Ocean right after they lost radar contact. Does that not sound completely suspicious to you guys? Now, can I prove that that's not true? Yes. We can prove it's not true, that the satellite data did not come back online, which would mean that the Inmarsat data is fabricated. How do we prove that? There's a real witness who saw the plane. In fact, our real witness is somewhere over here near these Crescent Islands. Actually, basically right on this black line, which is the estimated flight path of MH370, just extrapolating the direction forward based on the radar data. She's down here, and she told me over the phone when I talked to her last October that she believed her sighting was at 1840 UTC. And she said that she saw the plane glowing orange with smoke coming out of the back of it with no navigation lights. No navigation lights would indicate they had no power. If you don't have power, your computer can't magically turn back on at 1825 just in time for us to have some satellite pings to send people on a wild goose chase into the South Indian Ocean. Weird. Very weird. So let's recap. 1822 UTC, this is the last radar point, and we're some here in the Straits of Malacca over here, or the Andaman Sea, whatever you want to say here. Last radar point. 1825, satellite data turns back on. I mean, we looked at the raw data, and I don't see anything in there that indicates that. I don't see like the data stop, and all of a sudden the data comes back on at 1825. I don't see that in the data. They claim that what? A rogue hijacker was like, hey, guys, you know what? We've evaded them long enough. It's time to flip the switch back on and let them track us again. Makes no damn sense at all. None. Then, 1840, we have a real witness, a real human being with a real sighting. She saw the plane. She's on the flight path of the plane. And she sees the plane with no navigation lights, with glowing orange, with smoke coming out of the back of it, indicating a fire. What happens? All the independent group discredit her and ignore her. Catherine T. You guys can look up her sightings. Catherine T. They just ignored her. She's delusional. She didn't see what she saw. Gaslighted the shit out of her, basically. They just gaslighted her. Obviously, she saw the plane. Why could they not admit to it? Because if they admitted that she saw the plane, they would have to admit that this plane did go to the South Indian Ocean. They would have to admit that the satellite data did not turn back on. And they would have to admit that it was a fire. They can't admit any of that because it contraindicates the only data that says that this plane went in the South Indian Ocean. Catherine T. is the most important witness on this planet related to MH370. And when I first talked to her, I was worried about her. Her name is not how you spell her name here. This is not how you spell her name. I'm going to spell it in the chat. This is how you spell her name. You can find her old blogs. We found them all. They're all in the Discord if you search. And so they could not let her witness it. I was worried for her safety when I spoke to her because if she had told me that she saw the plane disappear from 3 orbs spinning around it, I was going to bring her on CNN or do it. I mean, not that CNN would have me on. I was still kind of naive back then. But I would have flown out to wherever she was and got a video statement from her. I was prepared to do that at the time. 100%. Yes, there's a bunch of other stuff too, but right now I'm just focusing on this. Like, there's other radars that should have seen the plane. A ton of radars, in fact. Like, some people say as many as 7 different radars should have been tracking the plane, including Guillaume Watrellos, who is the French father who lost his wife and children. Like, he's just on the record being like, a bunch of people should have seen this plane, and he's 100% right. Even if you just look at this. So this yellow line, where this yellow line cuts off right here, I'll zoom in. This is 1822 UTC. That yellow line is 1822 UTC. Look at all these radars still in range. Conveniently, can you guess what, guys? Guess what? The radars were off that night, or they didn't collect data that night. All of them didn't. It's amazing. What a coincidence. At least 5 or 7 different radars from I don't know how many different countries, 3, 4, or 5 different countries. None of them somehow were tracking the plane that night. Whoops. Amazing. What a coincidence, chat. None of them are tracking it. Literally, the story that they presented is that corruption in Indonesia have made the radars be off. What do you mean, corruption? Like, what are they saving, like 20 cents? Why would the radars be turned off? It makes no fucking sense. The radars were not turned off. The data has been hidden from the public, including the Rolls-Royce engine data, which by many accounts would have been actively monitoring the plane. They would be sending pings back like every 30 seconds. There's no way this plane disappeared. It just simply did not disappear. So this is the part where it's like, even if you don't believe the videos are real, you have to understand that the United States government knows exactly what happened to this plane. And they're the ones who perpetuated the cover-up. They're the only ones who could perpetuate this cover-up. The countries involved are predominantly allied with the United States directly. And then countries where we just basically told them what the fuck we're going to do, like Malaysia and Indonesia. Australia, India, all allied with the United States. United States, 100%, no doubt, beyond any shadow of a doubt, they know exactly what happened to this plane. To think otherwise, you have to be completely delusional. Completely delusional. So, notice on this video, I have satellite video coordinates mapped. That's where you see that red dot right there. That is the coordinates in our satellite video. Are you fucking kidding me? If you extrapolate out the radar data, it goes super close to the satellite coordinates. Keep in mind, the satellite coordinates are not the exact location of the plane. We don't know how wide that field of view is. It could be hundreds of miles. So there's a real situation where the satellite coordinates are this dot you see here, and the plane is literally on this radar plot or on this line, and they're looking at it filmed in this video that I'm about to pull up right now. How can people think this is fake? These coordinates in the bottom left of this video you see in the bottom left down there are of the Nicobar Islands right there. So you think somebody faked that? Have you ever seen any hoaxes that are that elaborate in your entire life? No, certainly not ones where you can see the mouse cursor come over the screen so we know we're looking at a screen recording. We know we're looking at a screen recording right here. What kind of argument is there for it being fake? Somebody made a fake video and then they did a screen recording of their fake video? This is just so fucking stupid. It's incredible that we literally have 2 military videos that were obviously leaked to the internet and people can't come to terms with it. These are real military capabilities that we're looking at right here that nobody even knew existed when these videos came out. Nobody knew we had a satellite video playback system. People still don't know. Today, they still don't know we do. Turns out we found out that we do because they send this data to ground-based systems. So the people that say like, oh, the clouds aren't moving. The clouds are moving. They say, well, the satellite should be moving faster. It's called synthetic aperture radar. Have you ever heard of it? They literally just shoot down and they're able to reproduce a real image. Synthetic aperture radar. I have to literally learn how satellites work just to explain to people that what we're looking at here is real capabilities. So now this person that faked these videos is some kind of VFX master that's also a master of, they know more about PhD 0-point energy physics than basically anybody else. Oh, and they also know about all of our military capabilities too. Absolutely impossible. Far more impossible than the science being real and these just being real leaked videos. Right? Somebody asked earlier, do you worry about your safety? Truthfully, a little bit, but I just don't care. This is like when I talk to my buddy Dave, I'm like, dude, I'm not going to live my life in fear. I don't care. I'm not going to live my life in fear. I really am not. And I'm not going to my grave with this information either. So it's coming out one way or another. They're going to have to kill me if they want it to go away. Simple as that. You know, they fucked up. They got this information leaked onto the internet. These videos leaked onto the internet. They should never let me see these videos. Too bad. I'm not a brainwashed sheep. I'm not going to fall for some bullshit stock effect that doesn't match that they planted on the internet to fool a bunch of retards, right? That's not good enough for me. I'm looking at way too much evidence here, you know, to ignore this. It's like, oh, I've got a bloody knife in my hand and I've got a video of you stabbing this person to death, but just ignore that. It's that knife matches this knife that is on this video game over here. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? I don't give a shit about that. Obviously, what we're looking at here is legit. Okay. So again, these coordinates are right there next to that plot. Now, to be fair, what am I going to say next? Previously, the main argument for why this is absolute proof these videos were real was because the Inmarsat satellite ping data was not publicly released until May 27th, 2014. May 27th, 2014. The videos, the one that we just watched, that one, the satellite one, this video was on the internet May 19th, 2014. So this video was on the internet before the satellite pings were even available for the public. You know, anybody would just add one and one together. You're like, that means the video must be real because we couldn't plot the location of the plane based on the satellite pings before this video was published. And that's proof. Now, counter argument might be this. If this plot of the radar data was publicly available, then one could argue they extrapolated the direction of the plane and then they picked some area along the line or something. I mean, either way, they would have had to guess the location, and they just happened to guess the right location of the plane. I don't know. I mean, it's still a huge stretch, but maybe debunkers can claim that they extrapolated this, but this assumes that this radar data was publicly known before May 19th, 2014. Now, we knew that the last radar was 1822, but I don't know that this plot, that this screenshot we're looking at here, and the screenshot, by the way, is this right here. So what you're looking at right here, this image, this yellow image right here, this is the real data. So there was some kind of meeting at the hotel where the family members were staying. And so it's been extrapolated. Like basically Victor took this yellow picture you're looking at right here, and he pasted it over the top of the plane, of the map of the flight path of the plane. And this is the original image. So literally well, actually, I guess this kind of answers the question, is that unless you were there in that hotel, you didn't see what we're looking at right here. The only reason why we're seeing this right here is because somebody took a picture of it. So to answer Ryan's question, this was never publicly released as far as I know. This was just presented in a hotel one time and somebody took a picture of it. I've never seen this publicly released somewhere. So that's what I wanted to look into, is I want to find out, when did this hotel meeting happen? Are there other images of this plot on the internet? And what's the timeline for that? Because if this plot here was not released until after May 19th, well, then wrap it up. The videos have to be real. I mean, extrapolating, because what this presents is the idea that the Inmarsat data is fake, and that if you just follow the radar path of the plane and extrapolate it out, you run right into our satellite coordinates. You run right into it. This is the real route of the plane, this black line. The MH370 videos represent that this black line is basically, maybe not exact, but just about exact of the real route of the plane. Pretty crazy. I looked, there's several LIGO hotel meetings. So we're going to look a little bit more. The question is, when was the radar data presented in the LIGO? Because the LIGO hotel was the staging point for the families the whole time, as far as I know. So let's do a little bit of research, chat. Let's do a little bit of research. Okay, so the first thing that I looked at was the original source. I'm going to show you guys the original source of this. Okay. So this is Victor's blog here. Now, Victor posted this 2017, but it was like they were going back through the old data or something like that. We're going to revisit previously held beliefs about the plane, he says. He says, the radar data shown in the LIGO hotel image shows an aircraft following this certain direction at 1822 UTC. Now, the other thing here is that he presents this theory that there might be a second plane. And when he says, basically, when you look at this picture here, it looks like there's two plots and they maybe like intersect or something like that. And so the theory is maybe there was a second plane next to it, which is also really interesting, because if there's a second plane, could that plane be jamming MH370? Could it be one of the AWACS that the French father was told about? And there's this weird gap right here, this white circle. There's no radar plot. There's no, see these little yellow dots here? There's no radar data for like 8 minutes here for some reason. Pretty bizarre. I would say the chance that the plane was shot down to cover up the video is practically zero. There's just no scenario where this plane was shot down, because you can't hide a debris field of a plane that you shot out of the sky. The one thing that people need to realize is that a Boeing 777 is the size of a city block. It holds 300 people. It's one of the biggest airplanes there is out there, a Boeing 777. It's huge. This is not some small private plane. If you shoot this plane out of the sky, the debris is going to fly everywhere. We're talking tens, if not 100 square miles. It's going to be huge. No way on the planet you can hide it. So any scenario that claims the plane was shot down, not really possible. It's harder to hide a debris field of a plane that's shot down than one that crashes. And even that's basically impossible. Okay, so there you go. So they're extrapolating the data point. So you notice here, 1822, this plot doesn't extrapolate the data point out at all. And so what happened, if you remember back like 10 years ago, people claimed that when they started hearing the narrative, the plane went into the South Indian Ocean, they just assumed that right after 1822, it must have just gone straight down to the South Indian Ocean, because that's what anybody would think. Somebody says the plane went in the South Indian Ocean, you're going to go, okay, well, right after the last radar point, they probably turned south, went in the South Indian Ocean. But it wasn't until later when we got the Inmarsat pings that they determined, no, it must have gone up and then around and then back down. And that's the argument that I presented before, is because the pings weren't released until after the video was already on the internet, there's no way for people to know that the plane went up and then back around. You just have to be guessing. You just have to be guessing. That's the only possible way. And now if you're saying, oh, they just happened to guess the right path of the plane, come on, man. We're looking at 2 military videos. Come on. So let me see. Oh, yeah. And then the other big evidence, too, since we're talking about evidence, Avi Loeb was looking for some microsphericals, like tiny little balls. They're probably like the size of this quarter, maybe a little bit bigger, but you get the idea. From a meteorite or something that crashed into the ocean. And the DOD told him exactly where it went into the water, to the point where they just went out there into the water and they pulled these tiny little metal balls off the bottom of the ocean. And it happened to be over by Australia as well. So you're telling me the DOD knows where a meteorite hits the water to a degree where Avi Loeb can go out on a boat and pull out a couple of tiny balls off the bottom of the ocean, but you can't find a Boeing 777? What? Absurd. Of course the United States government knows exactly where this plane is. Exactly. Now, for the people that are saying, talk to the families, we just recently had a situation with maybe a family member, maybe a scammer, don't know. Keep in mind, we're asking family members to believe a lot here. People are not going to be ready to believe that we teleported an airplane away. Now, they might be willing to believe that the Americans are responsible, but that we've got orbs that can teleport an airplane away, it's just too much for a lot of people. It's going to be too much for a lot of people that live on this planet until the day they die. That's just hard facts, guys. Okay. I'm looking at some questions. Yeah, I'm not going to dig into all the evidence today, guys, because I'm already getting tired here. But yes, there are VIPs on board this plane. There are engineers on board this plane. They are the motive. Take a look through my my highlights in Twitter, and you'll find all the history about it. Or just watch the Redacted podcasts. I think I go through most of the main evidence there. There's a lot more, but to go through all the evidence would take roughly 6 to 8 hours. Probably longer at this point. That's how much evidence there is. But to hit the main beats, just watch the Redacted podcast. And yes, it is interesting as well that a lot of these UFO sightings are now, they're seeing orbs. We're seeing balls of energy, balls of light. We're also seeing 3 in a triangle formation a lot as well, which this presents a strong story that would say this is technology that humans have figured out that now we are using. And that's exactly what's going on. I know that's what's going on. But, for people that have a hard time coming to terms with that, then, we have to have evidence to back it up. Okay, let's see if we can find anything else about this. And yes, again, I'm not going to answer all the stuff, but every question you have, phones, everything, anything that you could possibly find on the internet related to this plane, we dug up a year ago. You can find it in the Discord. You can find it on my highlights. You can find it in my interviews that I do. I think the Redacted podcast also talks about the phones ringing as well. So again, I don't have time to go over all the evidence on every live stream, but it's there. I will post a link to the Discord if people want. If this satellite imagery is of these random balls, those are not the orbs. So people send me that a lot. That's not the orbs. That has nothing to do with MH370. Just seeing some spherical things in satellite imagery is not orbs, guys. And these orbs are not metallic. These are not balls of metal either. These are plasma orbs. So you're not gonna find these orbs on random satellite imagery. I would almost guarantee you that, chat. No offense. Feel free to look stuff up, but people send me the I don't know, somewhere. I can't tell you how many people have sent it to me. A lot. There's some random 3 images of some metal spherical balls on a rooftop somewhere or something like that. And everyone's going, I found the balls. I found the orbs. No, you didn't. No offense. You didn't. But whatever. And also, I really, there's a lot of people that have had experiences. They've seen lights, blah, blah, blah. I'm not your therapist. I'm not a private investigator related to any of this stuff. So you can send messages or post replies, tell your story if you want. But just keep in mind, I'm not going to probably reply to it. That's just not my line of work, man. I'm just focused on this one thing. If this case brings you closure, awesome. There's a lot of shitty stuff going out there. A lot of people that have experiences, and you know, I hope that we can help get people some answers that they're seeking. But that's not my primary motivation. Okay, let's see if we can figure this out, chat. Thank you very much, Thailing. I don't know how you say your name, but thank you very much. Appreciate it. Okay. Let's see if there's any other evidence in here. I didn't read through this whole thing that hard. So he says Bill Holland took this picture. So I wonder if there's a way where we can figure out exactly when this meeting went down. I'm going to just do a quick Google search here. Bill Holland, Lido, what's it called? Lido Hotel. Actually, when I search, it goes right back to that time. I found another link here. Okay, well, this is interesting. Let's go check this out. Why did Malaysia Airlines try to cover up the truth about MH370 and blame it on a bird strike? Is that true? Wait, what? It has to be a deliberate act by an experienced but insane pilot with mental issues. It has to be? These people, man. Honestly, the suicide thing is absolute 100% disinformation. There's literally no evidence of suicidal pilot. It's all 100% speculative with no evidentiary basis whatsoever, which is what I think is funny because people think that like, oh, you're a conspiracy. I'm going, I've got 2 military videos that have coordinates of the real location of the plane. What do you have? Oh, I believe that the pilot intentionally turned off all the systems. That's not even possible. Next, they were suicidal and they were saying goodbye to their hometown. Yeah, we found their medical records too. There's nothing in their medical records indicating that any mental health problems whatsoever. Oh, well, like some simulator data. Simulator data was MH150 to Jeddah. He was literally practicing a route he was scheduled to fly. It has nothing to do with MH370. Done. Just debunk the stupid suicide myth nonsense. Like literal made up nonsense. Just completely made up. The best part is the person responsible for starting the suicide myth is Jeff Wise. The guy has the least credibility of every MH370 investigator on the face of the earth. He's responsible for it. He wrote an article in the New York Post or something where he floated this idea and then it gained traction. And now every retard YouTuber is going, yeah, it's like totally a suicidal pilot. And then every other like idiot primitive on the planet just parrots the nonsense that they hear. There's no basis in reality. Shit, man. Orbs teleporting a plane has more basis in reality than suicidal pilot nonsense. It's always Jeff Wise somehow. It always comes back to him. I kind of want to play the Jeff Wise video. I'm going to play the Jeff Wise video while I look for other stuff real quick.
I've been part of history. Back in 2014, I appeared on a panel on a CNN show that subsequently went on to become one of the most widely ridiculed and mocked shows in CNN history.
Oh, this is the whole thing. I don't want to do this whole thing. I thought I edited it down, chat. Oh, man. Jeff, this is Ashton. I'm under. The just come out. Okay, never mind. I don't know. Oh. Thought I edited it down, but whatever. Jeff Wise, man, he got so he was so in his feelings. It was crazy. You can tell that like everybody out there must get like 5 messages a day about Ashton Forbes' research. Like, I honestly felt bad for him, man. I felt bad for him. Guys, honestly, but like he brings it upon himself. A lot of these guys do, you know, these debunkers and skeptics, they bring it upon themselves, man. If you're going to try to high road people about how you're just so smart and people are conspiracy theorists and you're believing conspiracy theorists and the authority told me not to believe that, the authority would never lie to me. Bro, you've just brought all the ridicule. You've brought it all upon yourself, man. You brought it all upon yourself. There's really nothing more to be said on it. And that's why I don't want people to apologize. These videos are going to be proven to be real, and so is the science. And I'm not going to let anybody disconnect me from MH370 or MH370 from the science. That's not going to happen. I don't want any apologies from people. I don't want apologies from Jeff Wise. I don't want apologies from the independent group. I don't want apologies from the debunkers or the skeptics. I don't want apologies from any of these people. What I want for these people is to be better, to do better. I want them to realize that conspiracy theories absolutely 100% can be real. And if you blindly trust what the authority is telling you, you are an NPC with no original thought whatsoever. That's what I want people to realize. Why? Because I want the world to become a better place. And the only way the world's going to become a better place is if people stop solely relying on experts to tell them what to think. That's probably the number one problem with our planet right now. So people have no original thought and they just go, well, the experts told me to do this or that. Durr. I mean, and if you think if you think that kind of view can't damage society, just look at what happened with COVID in 2020. We shut down the entire economy just to appease people's mental illness about their hypochondriac. I'm going to die from a cold virus. We have to shut down the world. We can make the virus go away if we shut down the world. That's what the experts told me. And if I wear a loose piece of cloth on my face, it'll somehow protect me from the viruses. And the consequence of this was horrific. We have massive inflation because we paid people not to work for months and months and months and months. People's mental states were permanently shattered. Like 50,000 kids stopped going to school in Los Angeles alone. Just stopped going entirely. All this remote school shit. The amount of damage done from COVID is almost incomprehensible. I still see people walking around with masks in their cars and shit like this. Like, hey, COVID's over, man. Like, you can let it go. Nope. And what I would used to tell my aunts and my family was like, you guys don't realize, and this is before, you know, people started getting crazy about it too. It was like, you guys don't realize the damage this is going to do to people. There's people out there that just blindly absorb whatever the authority tells them. If the authority tells them, the authority says that the only thing between you and death is a cloth mask, people will never take the mask off ever again. And they haven't. It's exactly what happened. So yes, the mentality that the government that can do no wrong, they won't lie to you, they can't commit a conspiracy, or that the experts have your best interest at heart. You need to absolve yourself of that notion. The world needs to absolve themselves of that notion. Even if you don't agree with the COVID stuff or whatever, right? Still, please absolve yourself of the notion that the experts never did anything wrong. They will always tell you the truth. Okay. And I'm not going into COVID shots. You want to shoot yourself up with some drugs? Go nuts, man. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. I don't personally think that it's what do they think? Oh, I don't know. I'm not even going to dig into it. This is not medical advice or anything. Do whatever you want with your body. I'm all about bodily autonomy. Now, if we look back at where we were at with this search here, yeah, this is the biggest thing. Nobody's coming to save you. And this is not just the government. This is also about aliens. Aliens are not coming to save us. No, there's no alien species that are coming to save us from this planet. That's not going to happen. The only people that are going to save us is ourselves. So hopefully this is part of the reason why I want to disclose this technology, because it will help us change the planet. It'll help us get rid of all the suffering. Maybe the suffering is never going to end, but it'll help us get better, hopefully. Wu-Tang's not vexed. Okay. Let's see. Where is... Maybe if I change the date range searches. Let's change the date range searches. Let's go... How should we do this? 03. Let's go from when the plane disappeared. We'll go to... Let's go to when the videos dropped, 5/19. Let's see if there's anything about this. So all we have, there doesn't appear to be any official news reports with that picture in them. So it seems like one guy just took a picture. The question is, when did that picture show up? And there's nothing. So be curious to see if that picture was ever on the internet before the May 19th. It doesn't look like it was. We can't find any. Let's do radar. What was that guy's name? Bill something? Bill Holland. Let's do radar. Because, if only the independent group had access to that picture, unless the independent group faked the videos, there's really nothing. Well, let's figure out what this is. Squawk code. What? Mike McKay. I mean, it's crazy. All this evidence, like these people saw the plane. They dismissed all the witnesses. There was 2 Iranians on fake passports. They dismissed them as well. Like, holy shit. There's so much sketchy shit with this plane. And it couldn't have just been flying with no intervention, because if it turned and went into the South Indian Ocean, something has to happen there. Yeah, I can't reset my browser because I have like too many windows open. I have like a million windows open. Here's the Inmarsat stuff as well. It's amazing that the Inmarsat data is the only data. There's no Rolls-Royce engine data that was ever released. No corroboration from any source of the Inmarsat pings. That's the thing too. The Rolls-Royce engine data should be able to corroborate the Inmarsat pings in the location, but no. Chat, calm down, chat. Okay, well, I don't see... Oh, and here's the image of the guy who literally saw the plane on fire. This is from Mike McKay. I recognize it. From when I first saw the burning plane until the flames went out was about 10 to 15 seconds. There was no lateral movement. So he didn't even see it crash. Like, this is like a written statement from Mike McKay on the 12th of March. It's crazy, man. Literally saw the plane in the exact right location. Completely dismissed. Saw it on fire. We have a real witness that saw the plane on fire. It's crazy. Did you see the orbs in the NASA satellite crew from 2 days ago? No, I haven't seen that. Probably have to check that out. If somebody can post that in the Discord, go ahead. Thank you, Fishbone. Appreciate you, brother. I don't know if this person's trolling me, but it's pretty ironic for people to try to claim that I'm gullible when, especially if you're one of these idiots who thinks that it was a suicidal pilot or did the plane crash in the South Indian Ocean? Like, we just went through all the evidence. I didn't even go through all of it. There's also a Cardiff University study, peer-reviewed study, that shows there's no acoustic detections consistent with a plane crashing in the South Indian Ocean anywhere along the flight path. Like, we have like absolute proof the plane didn't crash in the South Indian Ocean, which means the satellite pings have to be fabricated, right? And yet people want to call me gullible. I don't know about that. I'd say that the people that are blindly trusting the authority, who are clearly lying to them, that makes you the gullible one, in my opinion. But whatever. I don't know what this is, but for the record, these reports of finding objects in the ocean, they're all false. They searched every single one of those. Not, just to be clear, not one piece of the plane was found in the South Indian Ocean. Nothing. So people claiming they saw something on one of these commercial satellites. I know there's all these searches going on, that all of them ended up being false. Not one piece of the plane was found in the South Indian Ocean. Not one. And just to be clear, like I've talked to Cindy Hendry, who's one of these people that claims that she saw debris in the ocean. It's literal nonsense. It just, the scale of what she saw doesn't even match. It's just like a fuzzy white dot. It's no indication whatsoever. And they searched and they confirmed that it's not. It's not debris. In some cases, people found random stuff in the ocean, but it has nothing to do with that MH370. It's not plane parts or anything like that. Okay, so that's not it. So let's just change our search here. Let's do an image search. Okay, so let's look at some of these here. This one looks similar. That's revisited. Let's look that one up. Let's look at this one up. Let's look at this one too. Okay, we'll just pick 4 random sources that we saw. Here's the picture. Is there any dates on this? I don't see any date on this one. Okay. So this looks like the radar data was probably known by March 22nd. Yeah. Oh, so here's the radar data. Yeah, so all we have is this radar data. It looks like it must have been known somewhere. Now, this isn't the picture that what's-his-face took. This is from 2017. Which one's the date on this? This is 2016, so looks like most of the analysis happened much, much after, but technically the radar data looks like it must have been publicly available. So to close out for the night, basically, if somebody had figured out the location, it looks like if you extrapolate the location and the route of the plane, which I don't know if that was done beforehand, we don't see any extrapolation of it, then it leads us directly where our satellite imagery is. So if you're somebody who believes the videos are fake, the only story that would make sense in my mind is that somebody extrapolated the radar data from what you're looking at right here and was like, oh, I'm going to draw a line and then I'm going to put a dot somewhere on it and I'm going to have it be somewhere along this line in the Nicobar Islands. So they still would have had to just guess, frankly. And they would have just had to know that somehow, yeah, this plane didn't immediately turn down into the South Indian Ocean. So we'll leave it up to you guys to decide what you want to believe on that front. I think that we've got more than enough evidence, though, that questions the authenticity of the Inmarsat pings. And I will be sure to let you guys know if I get a response back from the Inmarsat pings. Yeah. It's going to be hard. And based on like some of the troll comments, like people are going to have mental breakdowns. Like people are literally going to harm themselves when they realize that this is all true. And that's probably another part of the reason why they hide it in general. Like people will literally have mental breakdowns when they realize, oh, Ashton Forbes was right. We literally do have this technology that we've been hiding from the world forever, that we actually stole an airplane and we used on a commercial airplane in a covert operation. People's minds are going to break. They're going to have complete and total mental collapses. That's just the world we live in. And you know what? For the government and whatever would say, well, are you willing to let these people have the mental collapse? Yes, absolutely. The longer you lie to people, the harder it is, the more damage it's doing to their mental state. Same reason like with COVID, about lying to them about COVID, telling them they should be afraid. The longer we lie about it, the more mental damage it does to people. The sooner you admit the truth, yeah, sorry, we lied to you, masks don't really stop viruses, the less damage it's going to do to people's psyche. It's the truth. I'm going to give that person a timeout, though, just because they're bothering other people. I will do another Discord invite. Absolutely, Fishbone, especially since you donated. I want to read you guys the email that I sent to the external relations media head of the Viasat company as well, just to let you guys know exactly. Before I do that, how much do you know about physics? I'm asking because I want to ask if you can do an analysis on free energy devices. I'm not really interested in doing analysis. I don't want to be tied to anything in that sense. If I see something that I think is legit, I will share it. But I'm not doing any official endorsements or anything like that. But magnet-based devices have, in my opinion, merit because the electron spin allows them to churn up the ether, so to speak, the 0-point fluctuations. And if you're churning up the ether, then you have the ability that you can extract that energy using the right electrical engineering system. But if you just see a system where it's just like magnets and they're holding it, like even with the one with the kid where it's spinning around, that's not a full over unity system. Like you have to have a system to extract that energy as well. So it's a little bit more complicated than just, show me. You need to like be able to see more related to it. Okay. So for me, it's like, the reason why the Liberty device, for example, like there's multiple videos. They go as far as going out into the forest and showing you as well. So that's a lot harder for people to claim is fake. People obviously will still say that people are literally saying they buried an extension cord underground on the side of the road. And I don't know, how long is that extension cord? Where are they plugging that into? Oh, they're plugging it into a generator. Where? Like a mile away? You don't hear any generators, So those are the ones that's the only reason why I probably even promoted or showed the Liberty engine, because they went above and beyond to show people like this is not a scam. Which is how I would imagine you would do it, especially when this stuff is real and you realize it's not as simple as I'm going to build this and make $1 trillion. It's like there's a lot more complicated than that. So, yeah. Okay, I'm going to read this email to you guys here as well. Dear Mr. Sinat, I think he's the guy. You guys can find his name on the website. It's not secret or anything like that. My name is Ashton Forbes. I've been investigating the MH370. I've been investigating MH370 for a little over a year. My exhaustive investigation into the plane has concluded that Inmarsat produced fraudulent pings, which led the search on a wild goose chase into the South Indian Ocean. As you may be aware, nothing was ever found in the South Indian Ocean. The proof is partially due to the recent May 2024 Cardiff University study that shows no acoustic detections in the South Indian Ocean by multiple detectors, and the fact that the debris from MH370 washed ashore in Africa, which is physically too far to have drifted from the 7th Arc search area. The currents in that area flow to the east, and the debris should have washed ashore in Australia. I am seeking an official statement from Inmarsat on these allegations, as well as all data related to the release of the pings. Primarily, why the pings were delayed for public release until May 27th, 2014, more than 10 weeks after the plane disappeared. Why was this data not released on March 9th, the day after the plane disappeared? Thank you for your cooperation. This is a serious matter, and I hope you treat it as such. So as you guys can tell, I am not messing around. The only reason why I don't show that, it's got my personal info in there. Somebody just donated something else. Who made this? Thank you very much. Are the orbs plasma or more of a black hole if it's a gravity device? It's plasma, but the question is what's going on inside the plasma? Personally, I believe there is a very, very, very tiny black hole in there that is self-sustaining, that is allowing this vortex motion you see with the plasma that makes it have an asymmetry of the charges in it and have the magnetic field be self-sustaining, as well as this barrier, this boundary you see around it. That's basically the end of the magnetic field. So they can control magnetic fields to such a degree where you can have this orb of self-sustaining plasma where it's not leaking out into the atmosphere. Good question, though. Very good question. Hope you appreciate that. Thank you very much for the support. Appreciate you guys. I don't have a dead man switch yet, but I am building up information for a dead man switch. Last thing I'll say for tonight is that if there are any spooks, CIA people, PMCs, or whatever who are thinking about messing with me, just don't. I've already got dirt on people that I can release that, you know, you wouldn't want out there. And I've got nothing against you. I get why you're hiding it, blah, blah, blah. Just let me do my thing. If you let me do my thing, no problem. I'll even go easy on all the people. Like I said before, you let me reveal this stuff, and I will even advocate for amnesty for the absolute monsters that did this and the monsters that covered it up and have been hiding free energy from the world. Because you know what? I'm not a bad guy. You know, I get that it's going to be pretty hard to reveal this, especially when people could go to prison for the rest of their lives, or a worst case scenario, face capital punishment. You know, like this is pretty serious war crimes we're talking about right here. But there you go. Yeah, and crimes against humanity. Many people are going to say it's crimes against humanity. But you know what? You just let it come out, and I'll say, I get why they hit it. It's probably going to be the end of the world. So let's not, you know, execute them. There we go. Okay, guys, that's going to be it for me. I hope you guys had a good night. I appreciate you guys. MH370X, you guys are awesome. Got the best community out there. I will post the Discord invite one more time for you guys in case you didn't get it. There's a lot of really good information in Discord. Please search the Discord for stuff before you repost it, especially if it's old research. We found a lot, especially if you go to the evidence channel. It goes back a year, guys. We did so much. So Wednesday, we will do Secret Science Wednesday, and I've got some ideas of stuff we're going to talk about, so it should be good. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night. Peace all. Okay, where is it? We're going to do it. We're going to switch up the song here. We're going to go back to some of the old school.
It's H370 until you do some research. Don't talk to me. I'm going to find the truth while I sip this martini. Your opinion, it means squat to me. It's H370. Not all heroes wear capes. I wear glasses to see. I'm going to find the truth while I sip this martini. The trolls hate seeing me succeed. But guess what?